Thanks a lot for joining us for this session on engaging employers to support student career exploration. Really excited to have two communities that have a lot of experience in this area. And I know there's lots of experienced people in the group as well, and hope that you will put comments in the chat and any questions that you have as they're presenting. So Kari, I will kick it off to you.
All right, so yeah, welcome everybody. Kari Rauh, Director of Workforce Solutions at the Greater Peoria Economic Development Council, and I'm going to be co-presenting with Joshua Gunn, the President and CEO of the Chamber of Commerce in Peoria. So Joshua, over to you, and I'll share my screen.
Yeah, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, everyone. Very excited to be here presenting to you all today. As Kari mentioned, I am Joshua Gunn, President and CEO at the Peoria Area Chamber of Commerce and CEO Council here in lovely Peoria, Illinois. We're going to share a little bit today about some of the collective impact models that we use to engage employers, not only to strengthen our workforce here in the Peoria region, but also for the purposes of helping to create a more connected ecosystem for career exploration. I'll do an overview of some of the regional efforts that we're participating in, and then we'll drill down into one specific effort, which Kari will talk a little bit more about, which we call CareerSpark, and hopefully have some time for questions and answers at the end. So Kari, let's dive right in. So I am also co-chair of something we call the Regional Workforce Alliance here in the Peoria area, and it's a collective of over 85 member organizations in the community. Some of the partners that you see here on the screen, as well as about 80 others. And we are focusing on strengthening our region, right? Strengthening the workforce here in our region and creating a more connected ecosystem. And the Regional Workforce Alliance is the mechanism that we created in 2017 to do just that. Next slide, Kari. So one of the key competencies as we think about how workforce efforts can increase equity, one of the first steps that we took to engage our employer communities was we hosted an event here in the Peoria area called the Big Table. Big Table is sort of a national model to create, to convene large conversations where the goal is to break down silos, right? So you've got your sort of higher education community, your K through 12 community, your economic development folks, your business folks, and we wanted to get all those people, and also including people who don't feel like they fit into any of those categories I just described, all in a room to break down silos, to talk about what the key issues are impacting our economy. And we heard from employers in that meeting, and they said they wanted us to create a more robust workforce development ecosystem. And so we surveyed those employers. We heard from over 100 area employers, and what they told us is they're having a tough time today finding people with what they described as essential skills. So we know about the sort of hard technical skills that it takes to do a job, and they said they don't have, at that time wasn't really a shortage of people who could do the hard skills. But there was a challenge with the essential skills, things like showing up to work on time, things like being organized, even personal hygiene. So we created an essential skills certification model. And I think this is an equity piece primarily because what we found specifically here in the Peoria region is there's a bit of a disconnect between disenfranchised or historically marginalized communities and some of these skills that are not really taught at the trade level or the school level. So we call it GPEAK, and GPEAK was really the first product out of the Regional Workforce Alliance. GPEAK stands for Greater Peoria Essential Skills and Knowledge, and Illinois Central College is our partner in that effort. We've created this certification with this badging process that has been really effective in helping us improve our workflows. Next slide, Kari. So what is the Regional Workforce Alliance? Again, it's a collective impact approach. It's an alliance of regional businesses, educational, community-based organizations, as well as economic development leaders, as I mentioned before, all working together to address the workforce gaps in our region and for better economic vitality, of course. We identified that currently the Peoria area has about a 40% credentialed rate. the data tells us that to be a vital economy or to be a competitive economy, we need to get to about a 60% credential rate. And when we say credential, we mean, as you all probably know, we mean anything post-high school, right? Any sort of post-high school credential. Currently, we have about a 40% credential rate here in Peoria, in the Peoria area, and we need to improve that to 60%. So the Regional Workforce Alliance is really driven by that concept. And so in 2017, the CEO Council, the organization that I'm the president of, hosted business retention visits and the surveys that we talked about before to find out what exactly do the employers need from a workforce, what would help us retain employers, what would help us be more competitive. And we heard several things. Next slide, and we'll get into some of the things that we heard. So we talked about the need for a more credentialed workforce. So we have lots of adults that are under credentialed in the Peoria region, and this is going to be vital for us to be successful moving forward. Kari, if we go to the next slide, though. We also heard that there are really three primary buckets that those under-credentialed individuals fall into. And so as we address our work, the collective impact is targeted on these three areas. So the emerging workforce, which is our K through 12, right? Folks that are coming through the school system and that will be eventually entering our workforce. And you can see some of the programs that committee has created. One is CareerSpark, which Kari will get to talk to you about in a little bit. The other piece that we found is those people that we determine need to be upskilled, right? So they have some sort of skills, maybe even some sort of credential, but we see the major opportunity in the ecosystem is to upskill those individuals. So we have an upskilling committee. And then the third piece really related to workforce equity is the multiple barriers committee, right? So these are individuals with multiple barriers, whether it be generational poverty, whether it be from historically disinvested communities, whether it be previously incarcerated or justice involved individuals. We recognize that there are multiple barriers that may prevent someone from actively participating in the economy or being workforce ready. So our goal is to address all of these in sort of an interconnected way, but we've divided them into committees to be more targeted in our efforts. Next slide, Kari. One of the things that we think that this workforce equity and regional workforce alliance work can do is address this regional poverty cycle. So as we have 60% of adults with no credential, right? As we mentioned before, only 40% of adults in the Peoria area have any sort of credential. So this is preventing them from really getting a good job, right? They're unfortunately having to work multiple part-time jobs. As you know, those jobs typically don't have benefits. There's a time constraint there. There's a personal health constraint there. Multiple part-time jobs is a really challenging way to make it. No family sustaining wages. Absent of a credential, it's really difficult to find a job with a family sustaining wage. They're stuck in this sort of generational poverty, which the graphic we use is that cycle, right? This sort of cycle of poverty. Many of these are third or fourth generation families in poverty. And we think that the work of the Regional Workforce Alliance is really designed to address this issue. Next slide, please, Kari. We also drilled down into a very specific community in the Peoria area. We found that the most drastic need is in the African-American community here in the Peoria region. Wanted to share some of the data points that helped us determine why or how to focus our efforts on that specific community. While our Regional Workforce Alliance takes a big picture approach and focuses on the entire region, and as we talk about our region, it's about a 5-county region when we think about the Peoria area. But from an equity standpoint, we recognize that we need to target our efforts in the place where there's the greatest need. So in the Peoria area, we found neighborhood devastation rates of 99.6 out of 100. So obviously extremely devastated neighborhoods, specifically the neighborhoods with the highest African-American concentration, which in the Peoria area are zip codes 61605 and 61603. African-Americans have the lowest employment and credential outcomes, multi-generational poverty, as we talked about, which is resulting in absence of hope as well as a high violent crime rate in some of those neighborhoods. So we want to be really targeted in our workforce equity work and call out the places where we need to do the most work. So I felt like this data was really important to share with you. Next slide, Kari. So what does the Regional Workforce Alliance do, right? So in addition to convening the 85 stakeholder organizations, we focus on a few key projects and that we're really proud of the efforts we've made thus far. CareerSpark, which I'll skip over because Kari's going to tell you all about that here in a bit. GPEAK, which I talked about a moment ago, which is that essential skills and knowledge certification program. We have several employers that are actively participating in this GPEAK certification. What I mean by participating is they are actually honoring that as they go through the interview process, right? So they're recognizing this certification as an indicator that not only does this person have the technical skills necessary to do the job, they also can demonstrate that they've got those soft or essential skills to keep the job and be a great member of the team. The Big Table is a biannual event for community-wide input on workforce and equity issues. We convened it virtually last year. We're looking forward to doing it again in person in 2022. We had about 1,400 attendees last year in the virtual setting. So really excited about the engagement we're getting there. And it's not just a mechanism for us to have conversations, but also a mechanism to create projects like the ones that we see here. Talent pipeline management, Kari is taking the lead on that in our community and hopefully can share a little bit more about what she's doing there. And the Black Leadership Initiative is this last one. We mentioned that we identified a high degree of community need in the African-American community, and we've launched the Black Leadership Initiative to address that need and create more opportunities. Sorry, you guys can probably hear my dog, so I apologize for that. To address that need in the Peoria community by helping to cultivate a pipeline of Black leaders and find opportunities for them to participate in boards of directors. So we've had our first cohort in 2021, 7 individuals that have been placed on key boards of directors in the community. We recognize that an absence of leadership or absence of representative leadership is also contributing to that lack of hope and really a lack of pipeline for new talent. So we're really excited about that effort as well. I think that is my time. So we're going to pass it to my colleague, Rauh from the Greater Peoria Economic Development Council to talk about CareerSpark.
Thank you, Joshua. Yeah, so you've heard that Joshua's given a little bit of an overview as to the work that we're doing in Greater Peoria. This CareerSpark effort is really focused on that emerging workforce piece. So who are the students that are coming up through our talent pipelines, and how can we equip them with a career exploration experience that will allow them to make decisions around their high school planning for classes, and then make an easy transition into our workforce. So CareerSpark began in 2016 in hearing from employers that they're having a hard time finding a workforce, as well as hearing from educators that they were having a challenging time implementing the new PACE framework into their school. We wanted to create an equitable career exploration experience that students could take advantage of regardless of socioeconomic status or what zip code they're from, what high school they're from, to create a free resource for the 8th graders in our community. So in 2016, again, the Greater Peoria Economic Development Council, in partnership with our Junior Achievement Chapter of Central Illinois, and commissioned then by the Regional Workforce Alliance, set out to do this CareerSpark experience. So it's a free classroom and event-based learning experience, introducing 8th grade students to the working world. We've also now, since 2016, included high schoolers in done a secondary program to introduce high school students to the jobs and internships opportunities that are located here in our region. Again, primary purposes, we wanted to reduce barriers to career exploration. We wanted to provide opportunities, again, with the goal of increasing our graduation and post-secondary credentialing rates. We wanted to provide an opportunity so that there have been, I don't have the statistics off the top of my head, but stats about just how dramatic, even 1 year later, trying to, if you're not planning, if students are slotted into the classes and the tracks that they're going in high school. So wanting to give 8th graders the opportunity to be exposed to careers prior to even beginning their high school experience. As a secondary purpose, we wanted to connect employers with the students in our region and increase social capital and connections with students and among students and professionals. That's often a piece in the equity conversation that we don't often talk about. That I knew many professionals growing up by nature of the privileged community in which I was raised, and the friends and who had parents who are working in quote unquote professional careers, but many students don't have that. If they've not seen those careers or opportunities modeled in their own homes or in their networks, we wanted to reduce the barrier so the students could have a firsthand experience of interacting with professionals and build those networks, even from 8th grade. We also wanted to assist our regional educators in implementing the PACE framework, making it very easy that they don't have to, they can just come to this event, check off their need or what is needed for their 8th graders without having to create something new. So the content, the program introduces students to some of the essential skills that Joshua spoke about, networking and professional communication. It also introduces students to information about what are all of the career clusters that students could potentially engage when they think about careers. We cover we highlight 8 different career clusters here, but they're actually within each one there are 2, so reflective of the 16 career clusters that are nationally recognized. Helping students understand the process of career mapping, understand more of the financial literacy piece. What is the cost of education? What are you expecting to earn on the other side of that education? What do you do when you want to start job hunting, and what job skills might you need if you want to be prepared for a specific job? Really, the goal was to connect what students are learning in the classroom, that learning reading and writing skills, communication skills, mathematics. They're not just for the purpose of just learning sake, although I love learning. These are meant to be applicable, so to help increase student retention even through high school, so that they can see why what they're learning now matters. So as far as participants, since we began in 2016, we've had over 20,000 students go through CareerSpark. Initially, we started with 8th graders, and the blue on the left side of the screen reflects our number of 8th graders that went through our program this last year. We had over 4,500 8th graders from 71 schools and 53 employers that were engaged in that process. And this is our first year doing a high school experience, again, that is more focused, rather than being career focused, as more focused on getting students who are hireable, those 16, 17, 18-year-olds, jobs and internship experiences so they can start having on-the-job training and learning experiences. As we think about, again, equity, we want to be thinking about, well, how, and continuing to improve our program, wondering, well, how effective are we in actually impacting post-secondary credentialing rates, and impacting these areas of knowledge and assessing interests, and then what do students do after the experience. So we had this was back in 2018, so we're due for another round of data collection, but we had a third-party research firm that worked with us to assess how are students engaging this, and how is it impacting all of the students in total, but also specifically students that are from low to moderate income households, and then individuals, students who are coming from higher income households. So through that research, we found that the educators and volunteers, primarily the volunteers are primarily made up of our employer community, and overwhelmingly there's been positive feedback in agreement that the program has been effective for increasing student understandings of skills and abilities, helping students develop a career plan, introducing students to critical skills, connecting classroom learning to industry needs, et cetera. So that was helpful to know we're on the right track, and wanting to continue to engage those participants who help us make this happen, and those stakeholders in improving the program from their vantage points. Again, thinking about the employers, how can we continue to serve them even as we're serving students? So that's what the adults in the room think about it. What did the students in the room think about it? How did it impact students? So again, you'll see LMI and non-LMI Overall, we saw that 51% of students going through it began to consider new careers that they hadn't thought of as a result of CareerSpark, and that number was higher for those students in the low to moderate income level for households. And so we consider that a definite win. That the idea you can't be what you don't see. We definitely want to represent students or represent professionals and in all these career clusters and different kinds of professionals, so that students can visualize themselves in a variety of things they may or may not have seen. As far as real life perceptions across the board, we saw that students have seen value in the CareerSpark program and JA Inspire program for making future decisions. The biggest impact, again, on individuals from low to moderate income households. So just circled those numbers. It's across the board higher in terms of impact from what we got this data through surveying students pre and post experience. Let's see here. I moved the things so that I could see. All right, there we go. Moving on. So what has made CareerSpark so successful? It has not been perfect, but we've been grateful for many things that have worked. And the biggest thing is that it's been implemented in partnership, completely in partnership, collaboration all of the way through with our schools and with the employers in our community. And we've been responsive to the needs and the desires that we've heard that have been voiced by those institutions and organizations. It aligns with the PACE framework, again, provides a tangible solution for educators. So that educators, we had to pivot because of COVID to a digital platform, and though the second year fewer schools have been involved because of, I think, just tiredness, Zoom fatigue. Educators have been requesting that we go back in person because it's been so impactful for their students. Unified messaging across regional partners. We've really based this on a really substantive curriculum from Junior Achievement. They're internationally recognized organization that has provided just an exceptional way for us to curriculum for us to build upon. The experience has been tied again to what the classroom, what students are learning in the classroom, helping teachers, and that we're continuing to improve. And we've been very open to that to feedback for how we can improve. Let's see here. Again, has not been perfect. We've had to make some changes when you try to serve such a wide demographic. We've had to, and many stakeholders, there have been some bumps along the way. The biggest bump, COVID-19. The thought of thousands of students descending upon our civic center, having hands-on experiences sounded like a very poor idea. So we, along with the rest of the world, pivoted to a digital platform, and with that came different kinds of accessibility challenges. Broadband access and the digital divide became more pronounced. Which students were able to access this program and which are not. So after our first year, with lower levels of engagement, we realized we really needed to, though we have always done printed booklets that have resources for walking through the career exploration journey, or mapping that out. We realized we really needed to get printed booklets in the hands of students so that they could continue to engage it, even if engage the curriculum, even if that would be a challenge. The digital access. We realized that going digital, we would need to pay attention to different ADA compliance measures for the students among us that have differing abilities as it relates to audio or visual needs. So using best practices, needing to be aware of how to incorporate those into the digital platform. And then we also realized that we needed to make sure in that digital space that employers really were able to showcase their companies, that it wasn't just highlighting the careers, but that they really got the they saw the value add for promoting their companies within it. And so that was another thing that really, though we knew we wanted to add a high school component, we saw that as a key way to be able to introduce 8th graders to careers, and then with the high school follow up to showcase the companies that are in our region. So looking forward, we are hoping to return to an in-person experience. We've gotten we'll incorporate a hybrid model so that we're not sure that we want to do away with the hybrid or with the digital opportunity as well as, now that we can go back in person. Again, we're fingers crossed, but we want to make this more accessible. And we found that though it had additional challenges, it also provided opportunity. We'd like to really bulk up our employer surveying so that we can about how we can track and improve the process of connecting students with employers. And then the pandemic has changed a lot of things, and the workforce will continue to change. So we want to continue to highlight careers that will be part of this digital landscape going forward. And finally, I just want to share a quick success story. There was an individual who had been in the youth care system, formerly called foster care, who is in high school now and found the leadership, was involved in another junior achievement program in high school, and came out and found the leadership and said, "Oh my goodness, like that was like you ran CareerSpark. That's where I decided I wanted to become a welder." And when I was in 8th grade. And so it's stories like that, of the stories of hope, of students who had not seen necessarily opportunities or ways out of their situations, to have a plan and a path forward, to have financial stability and hope. So we're eager to see CareerSpark as part of all of the efforts that are happening in the greater Peoria area, just continue to create an environment where all people can thrive within the workforce, and eager to continue to work together to accomplish that. So here's our contact information. I'm sure the presentation will be sent out later, but we'd love to talk with you more about CareerSpark or any of our other initiatives. Joshua and I are eager to share. So thank you, and I will turn it back over to Edith and our Evanston partners.
Thank you so much, Joshua and Kari. So much good information there, from using data to determine areas of need, aligning your work with the post-secondary and career expectations framework, evaluating the program. Really appreciate all of that.
Thanks, everybody. I'm glad to be here with you today. I'm Neil Gambow, the chair of the Mayor's Employer Advisory Council here in Evanston. And I'm here with Tana Francellno, who's our career partnership manager. And we're going to talk a little bit about what we're doing to engage Evanston employers to support student career exploration. Next slide, please. So let's just 1 minute on MEAC. MEAC is a bridge to the community. We launched it in June of 2018. It was really designed to bring our Evanston High School into more close contact with local employers to support local careers that don't require college. And this thing has grown exponentially over the last 3.5 years. The council is all volunteer, including me. We've got 137 stakeholder members at the moment, which includes 52 employers, our District 65 and 202, which is the K through 8 and 9 through 12, Beacon Academy, Oakton Community College, the Cradle to Career, which is collective action, the City of Evanston, their Youth and Young Adult Division, and a new, and very happy to have, Workforce Development Coordinator at the city, and the local not-for-profit workforce development organizations. That's a lot of people, but they're all at the table. And they're supporting career experience initiatives at the 60 middle schools and D60 202, which is the high school. And of course, we're really proud to be part of 60 by 25, which has now been renamed. Congratulations, Edith. Good story. Okay, next slide. How about engaging local Evanston employers? We've got 52 of them on the roster at the moment. And we look at employer engagement through the employer lens. Basically, I'm a business guy. I've run businesses for a long time. And I've always been asking where are the young talent? We found it was at the high school. The employers recognize the value of this career exploration, but man, they're busy running their businesses and having a tough time recruiting people. And that they are not necessarily tuned in on how to recruit and retain new high school graduates. And we found that a lot of them were looking for programs they can relate to that can connect them with those high school students. So what we do is we actually contact employers, and now employers are actually reaching out to us to place them on that MEAC roster. And what we try to do with those people on the MEAC roster is make it as easy as possible to engage young people at high school and now down at middle school. And I want to really emphasize, personal relationships are important in this work. If you don't have a personal relationship with those employers, it's really easy for them to lose focus. So we, myself and Tana, try to contact every employer at least once during each quarter. So I'm going to switch now to the next slide. Okay, we're going to drill down now. There's a whole lot of other things that go on with the MEAC work. But right now we're going to talk about the IKIT Spring Intern Job Shadow and Summer Internship program. This program was developed 3 years ago as a, I'm sorry, 2 years, well, I guess it was just when the pandemic broke out. This is our third year doing it. And we did it with some funds that were available through the Evanston Community Foundation. Now, what I'm going to do is, rather than me talk, I'm going to turn this over to Tana Francellno, who can talk about these two programs, and we'll go from there. So Tana, take it away. And next slide, please.
Thanks, Neil. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here. I'm Tana Francellno. I'm the Career Partnership Manager, and my role is really the bridge between the local employer community and ETHS students, as well as really trying to find ways to create pipelines for our 18+ audience. And so I'll talk today really about the IKIT programs, which I think are really important because we built some really great momentum around them. So IKIT has two programs currently. This year we have the IKIT Paid Summer Internship Program. This was created for high school graduates 3 years ago that were identified as not necessarily taking a four-year university path. And so we wanted to have opportunities in our community for this audience of students that they would go straight from graduation into one of our MEAC employers, one of which we have as a guest speaker today, NorthShore University HealthSystems. And we wanted students to be able to experience a 12-week, last year was 12 weeks, internship experience with one of our employer partners. And the goal was really for them to get hired, hopefully, after the sunset of the internship experience. Some of our outcomes from last summer, they're very small, but we're excited about them, as it just is a start of the momentum that we were talking about as far as having young people making those connections. And so we had two employers, two IKIT interns that were paid by NorthShore University HealthSystems. Those two students from last year are now currently working in the laboratory at our local hospital, NorthShore. So really excited for those students. They finished their internship and continued on with employment. We also had a really unique funding opportunity with our ETHS Foundation and our partner Evanston Rebuilding Warehouse. And Evanston Rebuilding Warehouse really focuses on construction and trades. And so we were able to have sponsor two students there. And then the rest of the funding for this internship experience that's paid is from the City of Evanston Youth and Young Adult Division. So it took several partners to make this happen, but we are really excited that we're continuing it this year. We actually have 5 placements, as Neil summarized here, with NorthShore, 2 of them there. We had someone placed at Airmark, and also at Oakton Community College. She's in school. We have someone at the Evanston Lumber, one of our business partners, and one of our larger manufacturing partners, S&C Electric. We have a young person hired there as well from their internship last summer. So as we know, if the students have the opportunity and can have the experience, they will, and they continue successfully through the program, there's a high chance of them getting hired by our employer partner. So next slide, please. And just to mention too, this is really about equity in our work. We 80% of the students that are in the IKIT summer program are minority students or students of color. And so that's really important. I spent my first year really just trying to identify where the students were that were on a non-traditional pathway in our high school. And so it took a little sniffing around, but we found our audience, and I think we're going to be able to continue to expand the work through that partnership and relationship. So 2022, we learned some things from last summer. The programs have modified a little bit. We've taken it from 12 weeks last year to 10 weeks this year. Starting June 13th, we found that kids that are going to Oakton Community College needed that extra couple weeks prior. So we ended the program to properly align with Oakton's enrollment, because we know a lot of students are going to be doing that. We are hoping to have 40 students this year between some of our employer partners. We will have them all work 25 hours a week, and they'll get paid $15 per hour. We have internships paid. I see there's a question in there, the chat. We have internships paid from a couple different places. So the City of Evanston, Youth and Young Adult Division, they help fund our internships. And then we also have employers. Last year, we had 10 employers that were willing to sponsor their own interns. And so that really helps in creating more capacity and more students to be engaged in this opportunity. This year, we're doing the City of Evanston's going to be our main priority partner, and all the insurance will be paid through the City of Evanston. There's no cost to the employer for this 10-week internship opportunity. We just ask that, hopefully that the young person will have an opportunity to get hired upon the sunset. And we are covering multiple pathways. So there's manufacturing, healthcare, agriculture, business, finance, all the pathways are included in the summer internship opportunity. Next slide. So this is just a quick example of kind of like what our timeline looks like. I usually start working on this as the previous summer sunset. So pretty quickly in the fall, I'm already thinking what's our next summer program going to look like and what employers are we going to engage for this great experience for our students. And so this just gives you an example of kind of what we do, how we train our employers to be prepared for this internship experience, how we train our young people to be prepared for this experience, and then what I do in the community, which is really just run around and meet all the students and the employers and celebrate the experience with everyone. Next slide. So this is new.
Yeah, I'll take this one, Tana.
This is the job shadow. No, where's the job shadow one? Hold on.
No, that's at the end.
Got it.
Okay, I'm going to take over from here. I do want to say we take a look at this internship program from the eyes of the employer. Employers, they're not that comfortable with how they work with the young people that are just coming out of high school. So we actually have employer training sessions, and these are sessions that are developed by us, I guess, basically just asking and trying to feel out what the employers are looking for. And these are 30 to 45 minutes each. The first section is just, what is the IKIT program details? In other words, how do we get the kids? How are the kids prepared? All the kind of things that the employer needs to know to have a successful internship. The second one is hosting the employer preparation for IKIT. In other words, what are they going to have to do to make this thing work? And I'll have a little more on that in just a second. The third one is again, host employer preparation. How do you onboard your intern? You're getting a rookie. You're getting someone that may not have a whole lot of career experience. And, that's the kind of thing that these young people, you need to be very careful. Fourthly, we do have some tools for host employer success. Could you switch me to the next slide, please? You guys, there you go. The expectations. We tell host employers, they got to work at this a little bit. They need to provide a clear internship job description, because we let these young people see this before they actually get deeply involved in the internship application process. Name one point of contact for the company for that intern. Then we ask them, we actually require them to provide a documented first day schedule. You know, when this young person shows up at their internship after all the interviewing, it can be pretty harrowing. We want to make sure that that student's comfortable. And then completing a host employee checklist, which I'll show you in just a second. We also ask them to provide a formal offer letter to the student. You know, this is professional development. Throughout this internship, we actually ask them to maintain close communication with either Tana or we have a couple other helpers in the administration of this thing, so we can make sure there's the interns are doing okay and so on and so forth. And we do have 2 official check-ins with those employers and the intern. And at the end, we have an expectation that they're going to hire that intern at the end of the internship if there was a good job performance and there is an opening. So next slide, please. Here's just one of the things we have, these tools, and we can make these available to anybody. This is the employer checklist. What are you going to need? You know, we don't want these. We learned the first year, there were a couple of surprises here that some employers required a few things that they weren't ready for. And so now this is the checklist says, these are the things you're going to have to be looking for. And we ask them to have this to us, you know, early in the game so we can make sure the students are prepared. Next slide. This is a sample of the employee placement letter. This is, we kind of give this to the employer because, again, you know, young people may not be terribly introduced a lot to professional correspondence. So we asked them to do a real professional correspondence in that with using this particular format. Next slide, please. This is the student process. When a student applies to the WE program, or rather to the IKIT program, as part of the application, they have to take all these things on this particular checklist for that student to do before they actually start their internship. And there's a whole lot of things going on there. And we get a lot of help from the Youth Job Center, who can do a career prep and so on and so forth. So, and I'm happy to make these forms available because they're just kind of homegrown things. Next slide, please. So here, I'm going to turn this back over to Tana, because this is a new program for us. And you can go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Neil. Sorry, I thought it was earlier. So IKIT is expanded this year, which I'm really excited about. I have 29 super engaged ETHS students ready to explore spring break week. And so we came up with this idea to do a full week of career development and career exploration. So I'm really excited. We opened this up for 10th through 12th graders. So this is not exclusive to seniors. It starts the week of March 21st through the 25th this year, which is our spring break here at ETHS. So guess who's not going on vacation? That's me, but I'll be in the community, excited to meet students and talk to them about their career exploration experience for that week. All the students that'll be a part of this should be scheduled to work and shadow for 20 hours. So it's $15 per hour. And they get and receive a stipend of $300. And we were so grateful and blessed to have the ETHS Foundation support the funding for the IKITs, as well as some of our employer partners, naming NorthShore University HealthSystems as one, which you'll be shortly, that are going to donate to this cause. And so we'll have more students because we can have more capacity with employers participating in the funding for this. But it will be, you know, sometimes in some cases, students will be together. So there might be a buddy system where we'll have 2 students at an employer rotating in different departments and exploring what it feels like to be in a professional environment and explore the career interests. So it's a very low bar. The requirement is low. I just want you to know what you're interested in. I don't have a GPA requirement. I don't have any other requirement, but know your interests. And that's on purpose because I really want all students to have this experience no matter what path they're going on. And really we found that a lot of the students that are signing up for this are students that will end up either being in the IKIT summer program if they're seniors, or they're juniors, a very, 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 very eager group of juniors that are trying to figure out what's next to them before senior year comes. So we're really excited about this initiative. It is going to be a really fun week. We're interviewing students this week and we are doing the placements for these job shadows. unlike the iKit internship summer experience where the employer is actually doing the interviewing on the second interview, Job Shadow Week, we are doing the placements and meeting the students. So we can almost like matchmaking. Great, so next slide.
I think now it's Samir.
Yep, Samir. So one of our awesome partners in our community, NorthShore University HealthSystem, is here today to talk about their opportunities and how we're expanding our healthcare sector here in Evanston. Samir is here to talk about our Aspire program.
Thanks, Tana. Thanks, Neil. Really excited to be here and talk about this program that's really built off of so much work that Tana and Neil have done. And so I'm the Vice President for Talent Management at NorthShore. Been here about 2 years. Before that, I was at Northwestern University and a large services organization, global services organization. So I was a bit on the employer side with connections into the community and education. And it's really been one of the most exciting projects to be able to work on this with the city of Evanston and with Tana and ETHS. And I'll talk a little bit more about what we're doing and how we're going about doing it. Just a little bit about our organization. We're a healthcare organization that's combined now with Edward Elmhurst, and so we cover the northwest and kind of west areas of Chicago and the suburbs. And we've committed to $100 million in each region, so $200 million total to community efforts over the coming years, of which we're committing multiple millions of dollars every year to community-based organizations, such as what we're doing with the city of Evanston. We have a continued commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that really was a spark for a lot of this work, where we recognize that to provide opportunities internally, we need to look first to the community, and we need to think about opportunities in a new kind of way. We have opportunities, but as Neil said, we are not really focused in on what it means to partner with high schools or community-based workforce organizations to understand how to create that kind of pipeline. And so a lot of those have been hits or misses over the years, and we realized we needed a different approach here. And so the approach we took forward is we certainly have, we really started looking at what opportunities we have. And you see here a list that's just a representative list. So when we talk about healthcare, and we have over 400 different types of opportunities just at Evanston Hospital alone and in our region in the Evanston area, let alone in other areas. And so when we think about healthcare, of course, we think about doctors, we think about nurses, we might think about technicians, pharmacists, but there's really every type of job that you can imagine in an ecosystem, everything from service staff to cooks to patient transport to many different types of IT jobs and security and digital and health systems, human resources, finance. I mean, the list goes on. And so we have all these different opportunities, and like many other organizations, we've always had openings, and certainly now even greater. We've got, at this point, 1,100 openings on any given day. And so the question was, how do we match this to the people in our community that are looking for the opportunities, either to match them up to jobs or to credentialing that can then lead to jobs and fulfilling careers. And so there's really 3 entry points into these types of healthcare jobs. One is around early workers, similar to what Joshua and Kari talked about at Peoria and what Tana's talked about, where, how do we get those 11th and 12th graders with the type of on-the-job training or credentialing so that they can enter into these jobs. Certainly for those that have some sort of credentialing, they don't have to be degreed, but some sort of credentialing, there's many opportunities there. And then of course we have degreed opportunities as well, but we're really focused on the first 2. And what we realized as we worked through this is that it really required a very strong collaboration and partnership. If we went out and tried to identify the individuals and the preparatory phases of this and who's eligible and who's not and all of that, we'd really be missing the mark, because Tana talked through what all is involved with internship and job shadowing work that she's working on. And we realized that, we're neither first to the show, but we can accelerate this by tapping into that expertise and those partnerships. So by partnering with ETHS, City of Evanston, Evanston Cradle to Career, many organizations in the Evanston area, this has been a truly collaborative approach over the last 6-7 months of really understanding what the needs are, what the opportunities are, what the existing programs are, but and looking for ways to accelerate funding and connections to really increase the opportunities that students have to step into these experiences. And so the holistic program that we're calling Aspire, because it really is about aspiring to something greater, is really focused on career seekers starting in that junior high range. Really excited about what the work is going on in Peoria. I'm sure Tana was looking at that too, of how we figure out how to bring that more of that here as well. But really then focusing initially on our 11th, 12th graders, our early adults, 18 to 25, 18 to 30-year-old, and really starting holistically from, and looking at this holistically. What is the full pipeline here? How do we help them, the students, get excited about potential career opportunities, forging stronger partnerships with teachers for in-classroom as well as out-of-classroom experiences, the job shadowing and really tapping into the work Tana's doing, leading to internships and growing upon what we've done, to certificates and scholarships and wraparound programs to help individuals build credentials that can lead to both clinical and non-clinical pathways. And of course, it's about entry-level jobs and well-paying, well-earning jobs, living wage jobs. And it's more than that. So it's about fulfilling careers where individuals can not only support and engage themselves, but also their families and their community members right here at home. And so the internship program is really something we're really excited about, and really looking at a much more holistic approach than we've had before. Certainly at NorthShore, many organizations have this, where we look at observation, experiences, and mentorship to create a full-rounded experience. We've had, we had 6 total interns last year, 2 of them through the program Tana talked about, of which we hired in. And this year we're looking to grow this to 40 or maybe in 50 opportunities year over year. And so it's really exciting to see the focus on this going forward. And that's a whole different level of experience we're looking to create. Just to talk a little bit about the types of certifications to accelerate pathways. What you see here is just some examples of what this is. Let me start here. You see some examples of what this is and the types of credentials and credential stacking that we can do. So we're really thinking of a pipeline approach of entry level to how do we stack credentials to be able to help individuals grow in their careers. And you see some of the examples here with partners in our area, ICI, Oakton Community College. And it takes an investment of time and money, and not everyone has that, and so, or has that readily available. And so supplementing this with scholarship opportunities, wraparound programs to support transportation, additional on-the-job training, maybe childcare or other types of support is really important to supporting individuals to be able to get these credentials. And so that's really kind of the next path for us, is really thinking of this holistically in terms of those stackable credentials through scholarships, additional mentorship, wraparound support, certifications. And we're looking at partnerships with ETHS, City of Evanston, Oakton Community College, and others to grow this. And just some examples here, that the 2 ladies that you see in the upper left are the individuals that participated in the IKIT program. So really excited about that and growing that in the coming years. And at the bottom and the upper right, you see some of the programs that have gone through our certified nursing assistant program, CNA programs. And at the bottom is Eddie, who joined NorthShore in 2016 at what we call a patient care tech. Participated in one of our medical assistant certification programs, is now moved into a medical assistant role in our medical clinics, and is growing his career at NorthShore. And that's just one example. And we want to create not just dozens, but hundreds of these going forward through these community partnerships.
I have one other comment at the end. Thank you very much, Samir. This is an incredible partnership that we, it just happened. One of the things that as Samir didn't mention, he should have, is that NorthShore is putting $200,000 a year for the next 2 years into this program. They asked the city of Evanston to match that with the ARPA funds, and the city granted that 2 weeks ago. So now we're up to $400,000. And then a foundation in the city knew about this. Can't remember but they said if the city does their thing, we'll match another 200,000. So this is the kind of funding that's flowing into this kind of program, and we're so happy and so pleased about this partnership, Samir. This is fantastic stuff, and boy, oh boy, we got a lot of work ahead of us here. So thanks, Edith. That covers what we had to say.
Great. Thank you so much, Neil, Tana, and Samir. Again, wealth of information from the importance of building personal relationships with employers to strategies for braiding and blending funding to support young people, setting clear expectations for employers, and the career path that Samir talked about, all really great. I'm not sure if there are any questions from any of the participants.
Edith, there were a few about transportation, which I think we covered. Funding is blended funding. Somebody asked about funding. The funding kind of comes from a couple different places when we do the internships, but I think someone mentioned, I think in the Peoria presentation, I believe the students want to get paid, right? Or was it earlier today? We want to pay them. And so we really do focus on ways to keep the funding coming in through multiple partnerships. So I'll just say that we don't have an MOU for the internship experience. That was another one that I think that's it. I think we covered the questions.
And Tana, I love the way you talked about how you seek out students who need these services the most. Can you talk a little bit about how you do that?
Yes. So in ETHS, there's like pockets of students in different places. So we have an alternative school here to support those students. So I intentionally knocked on that door to make sure that we met those students and they knew who I was and kind of the work that I support them with. And I go with our post-secondary counselor a couple times a year to present the opportunities that I work with. And we have some of those exact students in our job shadow week. So I see that the information is trickling back to the student and they're excited to be a part of these programs. And then special education is another big one. I mean, we saw a ton of students last summer in our summer program that were, special education students that you wouldn't have even known, but because they were looking for alternative pathways, different ways to approach their post-high school experience, they ended up in IKIT for the summer. And so I work with the special education department very closely as well to make sure that those students are meeting their needs are being met as far as their post-high school plans. And then we work, in tandem with the big larger community and just like 18 plus, like what does that look like for those and where are those people at? And so looking at our workforce partners in the community through partnerships with people like Kurt's Cafe, Evanston Rebuilding Warehouse, places like that, where we know that there are students or young people that are maybe have a few barriers or are looking for ways to get connected because they don't have the information. Someone said earlier, you can't see it if you can't be it if you can't see it. I mean, that is so real. And I think that's why I kind of pull those kids in to my work on purpose so that they can see it and get excited about something. We want to give them hope.
Great. Thank you. And Kari and Joshua, in the 2 minutes left, just wanted to hear, you work with a wide variety of employers. If someone is just starting off to start engaging employers, what suggestions do you have about how to do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Joshua had to hop off, so I'll take this one. So he mentioned the talent pipeline management process. There are focus groups based on industry that we're running, employer focus groups. So that's a really great way for, say, manufacturing employers to come together. And there's a convener. I'm serving as convener. So to hear that employer feedback and then connect those employers with the appropriate resource within our workforce development ecosystem. So I would say, yeah, gathering with those focus groups, at least in Peoria. I think CareerSpark really is, though it started really, to serve students and educators, it really is an easy way for the employers to get connected and kind of rally behind. It's a rally behind something that's exciting, while also getting their name out there and to start just being in the conversations with other employers that are engaging the ecosystem. So
Great.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
I'll add one more thing to that. When we have companies or employers that we ask to join MEAC, we tell them three things. Number one, we don't want your money.
Yeah.
Number two, we want your people. We want your stories and your expertise.
Mhm.
And, we'll get, if they want to fund internships and stuff later, great. But from the get-go, we're more interested in the work than we are the money.
Mhm. Yeah. And the feedback of what skills are needed now and will be needed in the future. That employer feedback is just critical for improving the whole ecosystem.
Well, thanks again to our presenters. Lots of great information. This presentation will be shared with everyone at the end of today. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Be sure to join us at 2:30 for the Student Voices session.